What's up everyone? Welcome to the channel. I'm Irish Ronin, and today I'm reviewing my top 10 picks for the Foddian SpeedJam hosted by Squarespace. For those who don't know, Foddian refers to games by a dev named Bennett Foddy, whose games typically feature unorthodox controls or movement, and almost always have the potential for devastating setbacks if you make a mistake, such as in his most famous game, Getting Over It, which is what you're looking at right now. One of the constraints of the jam was that it had to be Foddian. The other was it had to adhere to the theme of momentum. Now, before we get into the list, I want to share what I'm looking for in a game jam game. Fans of the channel will know my 4 basic categories. Number 1, fun. If the game isn't fun, what's the point? 2, creativity. Want to see some cool new stuff? 3, easy to learn, hard to master. If you put in a crafting system that takes an hour to learn, you lost me. 4, polish. Time is tight in a jam, and if you pull out a clean, polished game, that deserves some props. Now, this particular jam was somewhat unique in that the games had to be Foddian, which means the fun category had to have an added wrinkle of unbridled rage when you fail. Also, the creativity component is going to count for a lot more, because that's the other thing that Foddy is known for. Finally, this jam may as well have been called easy to learn, infuriatingly difficult to master. So, with all that said, let's dive into the list. Coming in at number 10, we have Swing and Slide by DeeQay. In this game, the goal is to climb as high as possible, as fast as possible. This was a common tactic to get that foddiness into the games. After all, gravity is a very convenient way to reverse progress, as long as that progress is upward. In this game, you got a grappling hook, another common theme from the jam. But what I like about this one is that there are several movement types: jumping, swinging, sliding, running. What's great about it is that it's not just one mechanic, but several that must be called upon and switched between in order to get into a strong flow state. Now, as you can see, I struggled somewhat with actually executing on that flow state idea, but based on the leaderboard, better gamers had more success. This game requires quick reflexes and for the player to build a familiarity with the level in order to see a strong performance. You definitely get better with practice, and it's a lot of fun. You should try it out. Number 9 on the list is Breaking Boundaries by Imated. This game is one of the more unique takes on the theme and genre defined by the jam. The entire goal of this game is to maintain momentum. I'll be mentioning the flow state a lot in this video, but this game is pure flow. Anything less than smooth, seamless transitions, and you're totally screwed. Because the Foddian aspect of this game is that instead of losing spatial progress in some way, you're losing momentum, which I thought was a very clever way to induce that feeling of Foddian rage in the player when you screw up, like you definitely will. Visually, the game is pretty simple, but the audio is great. That building chirp as you gain speed, the cool synth music, and that shattering glass noise when you slam into a wall, which I'm pretty sure is meant to be the sound of your heart breaking as you decimate the momentum you've so carefully accrued. So, while it's not the most polished game of the jam, it is by far one of the most engaging and most unique, and you just can't help but try again because it's so simple you feel like you ought to be able to do it. And, maybe you can. So go try it. Number 8 from the jam is Foddy Ropey Do by Jackljkdan. Jackljkdan. Something like that. Now, this is a fun little balance game, and you use WASD to balance on the high wire. You use shift to go faster and click to crouch. There's no question that the Foddian aspect is here. One mistake, and it's back to the beginning for you. In terms of momentum, the dev took a pretty unique approach. You need to counter your momentum and lean into the turns like you would on, say, a bicycle, or skis, or skateboard, motorcycle, jet ski, ice skate. Alright, I'll stop. The point being, your momentum combined with leaning helps you take turns with greater speed, and it's very well implemented. It feels very natural, it's fun. The other part of this game that I absolutely love is the sound. Just listen for a second. All human vocals, fun, upbeat, tempo changes with speed, and I love the, I don't know what to call them, cheerful wails as you plummet to your death. It's a fun game, you should definitely check it out. Lucky number 7 in the jam is called Spinny Jumper by Vivax. The learning curve on this one is very steep. You have a little ball with 2 cannons mounted on opposite sides, 1 mouse button per cannon. That's it. I cannot express the extreme level of frustration and self-loathing that comes from getting into a groove, you're in control, you're making great progress, then suddenly you misclick, fire the wrong cannon, and literally do the exact opposite of what you intended. Then tumble all the way back down to the bottom to try again, you loser. This is the kind of game that will make people throw their monitors at the wall. That said, once you get the hang of it, you actually do have a pretty high degree of control. The key is to keep your RPMs down, so that way you can track the cannons and time your shots more easily. It is a lot of fun once you get used to it. Well worth trying out. Next up at number 6 is Nebulizix by PrionDisease. In this game, you're orbiting various celestial bodies centered on a black hole. You have the ability to break your orbit and then do a single boost. What makes this game so difficult is that you have no control whatsoever over the player's orientation. Sometimes it's spinning madly, other times it's consistently pointing away or towards the planet you're orbiting, or pointing straight in one direction. This means that the game comes down entirely to timing. It is very frustrating at times, and you go back to the start probably more frequently than almost any other game from this jam. But it's fast-paced enough that it's still enjoyable. Polish-wise, the game has a nice little mini-map in the top left, and generally has a very nice, vibrant, spacey color palette. I also really like that the tempo and pitch of the music correlates to your distance from the black hole. This gives you a sense of frantic energy as you make progress, and a surprisingly depressing effect as you plummet back towards that soul-sucking black hole. Definitely worth a try. Numero Cinco is Overdash by My Games. This is a strange one. You have basically like a quintuple jump, but each jump is increasingly powerful. Now, in one way, this makes sense because momentum, but in a brain-frying kind of way, it doesn't, because your momentum builds even if you're moving in the opposite direction. So if you jump right and then jump left, those don't cancel each other out. You're moving even faster left than you were moving right just a second ago, which led me to play alternating strategies of extreme recklessness and hyper caution, and neither of them worked. It's a super counterintuitive movement style, but it's also simple enough that I was unable to shake the feeling that I could get really good at it. As you can see from my gameplay, that intuition was deeply mistaken. However, based on the comments from the jam, I am apparently in the minority because lots of people actually managed to finish it, which, if I'm being honest, blows my mind. In short, if you're looking to have some fun and raise your blood pressure, this is the game for you. Just off the podium at number 4, we have Pinchudito by Dimitry Castex. In this game, you play as Pinchudito, which translates from Spanish as little skewer or little prick. As in prick your finger. Come on, it's a family-friendly channel. Anyway, you're this little green ball that can roll, but if you roll too fast, spikes pop out, and you stop instantly. In this way, the dev achieves a very unique balance between speed and caution. You need to be spinning fast in order to climb certain slopes. You also want to be flirting with that line where the spikes pop out because you need to use the spikes in order to pass through the purple platforms. But what you don't want is the spikes popping out when you're trying to actually go somewhere, because you stop dead. And this unique movement style is well reflected in the level design, which is superb, by the way. Though it may look like a bunch of almost randomly placed slopes, as you play it, it becomes clear that a great deal of thought actually went into the spacing, sizing, angle, all of it, of these platforms. Towards the end of the level, for instance, there's a series of jumps that is very easy to be too fast at the start of, and very easy to be too slow at the end of, which therefore requires a high degree of control of your momentum, the theme of the jam. Plus, there's the ever-present risk of your spikes popping out and stopping you dead in your tracks. Then you release the spikes and fall all the way back to the start of the level. Which happened plenty of times. Anyway, it's an innovative game, great gameplay, good example of a Foddian game, and momentum plays a critical role. A+ from me, but you should try it for yourself. In third place is Fall Queen by AL3AB. In this game, you play as a queen seeking a knight that wound up at the bottom of this massive pit. Your only means of movement is a chargeable jump, but you have to be careful because there are bouncers absolutely everywhere that can send you all the way back up to the top if you're a little bit unlucky. Now, why couldn't the knight use these bumpers to save himself? Don't ask stupid questions. Anyway, I like the clean pixel art in this game, the charging animation in particular. I also like the single button controls. It never ceases to amaze me how engaging a game can be with only one button. And this game is certainly engaging. It is, without a doubt, the game that I played the longest in this jam for one simple reason. It seems so doable. Look at all that landing room. I have time to think about what I want to do. I've used this jump 200 times before. I will absolutely be able to motherfuck. Needless to say, the Foddian aspect is certainly present. Give it a try, but don't come crying to me when you smash your keyboard into a million pieces against your desk in a fit of rage. Second place and the silver medal go to Rocket-Powered Escape by SeeOne. In this game, you play as this little guy that has a gun and it shoots bombs. The recoil from the shot moves you, but not nearly as much as the explosion from the bomb does. An interesting feature of this game is that the camera moves incrementally, so you either have to take a leap of faith or waste time by checking out the next section by launching yourself straight up. So, in order to speedrun, therefore, you would need to have played the game many times so that you know where everything is. Fortunately, the game is extremely fun to play, so playing it many times is not much of a problem. I love this movement mechanic. The physics are tuned perfectly. The recoil and explosion forces are well balanced, everything feels predictable, but by no means easy to control. It walks that line between challenge and fun very well. Additionally, that very slight landing on the platforms can lead to some panicky detonations for fear of falling. Which, speaking of, this game is probably the best in the jam in terms of foddiness, which many games lacked. Lots of games had you, if you made a mistake, you fall all the way back to the beginning, almost no matter what. This game has the potential to have you fall 2 platforms down, or 10 platforms down, or in fact, all the way to the bottom. But it's that element of chance as to exactly how dire the consequences are going to be that makes you want to keep playing. So, well done, and absolutely you should play this. No top 10 list would be complete without a couple honorable mentions. First up, Black Hole Sun by Rethuna. In this one, you're launching from node to node trying to get to the top. This was, for sure, one of the most playable, best polished games in the jam. The only reason that it didn't make the top 10 is because it didn't have that X factor to kind of set it apart from the crowd. That said, still very enjoyable in a low-key kind of way, and you should give it a go. Conversely, Foolish Fish by Nacho Del Castillo, this game is entirely X factor. Absurdist in the best possible way, with the occasional reference to actual Foddy games, and the gameplay is very unique. You are what I can only describe as a reverse mermaid, I think? Yeah. You drag the mouse to plan your trajectory, you bounce off anything that isn't grass, you're super buoyant when you're underwater, which launches you into the air where gravity takes over, and I could probably spend 5 minutes just describing the unique physics of this game, or you could just go try it yourself. Let's go with that second option. And the big winner, gold medal number 1, is Gooing Up by Steveismeow. This is, for sure, the most polished, most complete feeling game from the jam, in my opinion. Everything from the graphics, the sounds, the controls are all well thought out and work well together. I mean, this game is awesome. You're a little green blob of goo discharging some kind of bodily fluid, I guess. And you're propelled away, much like in Rocket-Powered Escape, by recoil and explosions as your primary method of movement. What gave this game the edge over its rocket-powered counterpart are the graphics and camera. You're in this awesome subterranean sewer setting full of pipes and culverts and glowing green ooze, which, incidentally, put me in mind of the Ninja Turtles, which is always a win in my book. The attention to detail is also extremely evident, from the drop lighting on the pipes to the particles constantly being shed by the player character. There's a lot to look at and appreciate even while you're standing still. Additionally, the camera moves with the player, which allows for a better chance of actually getting into an organic flow state as opposed to having to memorize the various locations of off-screen platforms. Now, I gotta say, I hope the devs behind this keep working on it, because this is certainly the sort of game that I would happily pay for on Steam or PSN. It's awesome. You should absolutely give it a go. And that's it for the top 10 games from the Foddian SpeedJam. Oh, I may have forgotten to mention that there's a secondary stage to this jam, which is why it's called a speed jam, because after the ranking period is over, the top 3 games will be streamed live for people to try and speedrun. So be sure to check out the jam page if you want to see much better people than me playing those games. So, like I said, that's the top 10. If your game didn't make the list, you should absolutely take it extremely personally, okay? My judgment is infallible. Just kidding. There were lots of other great games from the jam, and you should check them out if you want to. If you like this video, there is a button to express that opinion, just a few inches from where your cursor is right now on your monitor. I think it's actually even called the like button, so feel free to click that. There's even a subscribe button, but I think that's reserved for people who really liked the video. And if you didn't like the video, you know, I don't think there is a button for that, so I wouldn't even bother looking for it. But I thank you for watching, and hope to see you again. Until then, I'm Irish Ronin, reminding you of the most important game loop in life. Do, fail, learn, repeat. See you next time.